Happy Independence Day to you all, the Togo diaspora, and happy to be here today. So my name is Jodi-Kaye, and I'm with the U.S. Agency for International Development. Are you all familiar with USAID? By show of hands. Fantastic. I am here representing the agency, and I can speak a little bit about trade, which our fellow federal government colleagues talked about. But I'm actually here for you to talk about business. And if you have businesses, how you can work with USAID to give back to Togo. By a show of hands, how many people here are business owners? Looks like about 10 or so hands. And how many of those people who did raise their hands currently work in contracts with the federal government as a prime or subcontractor? No hands. Well, one hand? Okay, fantastic. Because not a lot of people think about working with the government. A lot of people either work with the communities in which they serve or potentially with the state. The federal government is the biggest buyer. And you all, if you're interested in working with the government, this is probably the best time ever because you have a business-minded president. So definitely consider it. If your services that you provide aligns with what the government procures, I would definitely try to explore those options. And I will walk through a little bit about how to do business with the USAID agency and how you and your service, your business, can be plugged into that. Before I jump into my presentation, I want to tell you a little bit about me and why I am the person they sent to speak on behalf of the agency. So I work in the Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization. That basically means we are the office that ensures the Small Business Act is implemented within all of the government agencies. The OSTABU, which is also known as, works to ensure that you as small businesses, yes, you are from Togo, but if you're in America, you have a business and you're registered, you're now a U.S. small business. So that U.S. small businesses are considered in all of our procurements. We, as a federal government agency, need to ensure that 24% of all of our dollars go to U.S. small businesses. Because why, you may wonder, you all are the ones creating jobs in the community. You are the ones also ensuring that all of the programs that we do are done successfully, and you diversify the contract dollars and where it goes. Many of the small businesses, for your knowledge, are women-owned, also service-disabled, veteran-owned small businesses, hub-zone, as well as just general small business. For businesses that are started and owned by minorities, we have a classification called 8A firms. And we as the federal government want to make sure that all of our citizens are considered in our procurements. So that's the office in which I work in. And I want to make sure that you all know that I support the Africa region, so that's why I'm here. And within the Africa Bureau for the agency, we work in almost all the countries in Africa. And for USAID, we do not consider the North Africa. So unfortunately, I don't support that. That's considered the Middle East. So South, East, and West is in my portfolio. And I work to ensure and support all of those missions that we have. And Togo, we don't have an office there, but it's supported by the Ghana mission, which is a West Africa mission. I want to mention also for you why USAID wanted to make sure that we're here. Obviously, the diaspora, as has been mentioned by my other colleagues, have stated that the diaspora has something very unique to contribute to the work that we do, especially in development and in foreign policy. And for USAID, our mission is to partner to end extreme poverty and promote resilient democratic societies while advancing our security and prosperity. And U.S. diaspora have a critical role in ensuring that we meet our mission as an agency. What we do. So USAID works in various sectors throughout the world, but definitely in Africa. I will mention, though, for Africa, there are some missions and some focuses that we have more than others. So agriculture and food security would be one of them. Global health, as well as energy, are the top 3 sectors for the Africa region. So if you have an interest in those sectors or do business in those sectors, please do come talk to me. for the small business community. But we also partner with various other organizations that are listed on the slide. You'll see we work with NGOs, so nonprofits, and I know that the presentation included NGOs, so I want to at least mention that. My office doesn't support the nonprofit organizations, but we as an agency very much do partner with them. And a significant amount of our resources also goes to NGOs. As an agency, of 100% of our dollars, roughly 70% goes to nonprofits. Because we want to make sure that the programs are being run by organizations that will continue once we're no longer there funding it. So how we operate. On the next slide, you'll see that we have a program cycle. Essentially, we work with the private sector, the diaspora, we work with the governments in which we support and we are in, to ensure that the programs we design as an agency captures all of the things that the individuals, these stakeholders are concerned about. And while we design them, we're also thinking about policy that's driven from the government, of our government, so from the president. And part of the design, we want to make sure that our programs are impactful, so monitoring and evaluation is a critical part of that. And that's actually the most important area U.S. small businesses support us in, is in monitoring and evaluation. All of our programs have to be evaluated to make sure they're impactful, so that when we report to the Capitol Hill, to the Congress, as they give us our funds, that they know that it was spent wisely and it was useful. You'll see also one very critical third bullet is the Country Development Cooperation Strategy, CDCS. It's very important to know. Every country in which we work in, USAID develops a CDCS. So if you have any interest in any countries in our portfolio, please review the CDCS. And it is on our website and it is public. So just look at it and understand that if you, for example, have an interest in, let's say, education, but that country focuses only health, your efforts to contract with us will not go the way you want. So it's important to review the CDCS and better understand what we're doing. And it's a multi-year strategy for over 5 years. Also, as we are the federal government, we have policies that govern what we do. And USAID has specific policies that's called the ADS. It's called the Automated Directive System. Once you start working with us and want to learn about how to better contract with us and follow the regulations, the ADS will be your Bible to follow. So I just want to make sure I mention it very, briefly, so that you understand that we often talk in terms of policy, and the USAID policy is the ADS. Funding at USAID comes from the American people. So the taxes that you pay, we use it to do development programs around the world. Also, the programs in which we support, the funding that we get is dictated by Congress. And oftentimes in my role, which I do a lot of outreach, we as an agency host events and bring people in, there's often a frustration in which people want us to do something else, but we don't have the funding for it. And it's really determined by Congress. So it's important as you have certain priorities, and especially doing the AGOA forum in Togo. Togo is now something we're looking a lot closer at. So this is a critical time to go talk to people on the Hill. Karen Bass, for example, is a big supporter of the African diaspora. So making sure that they know your interests and your priorities, so it's incorporated in the funding we get to do programs. On the next slide, you'll see the funding in which we award our contracts, and it's done through acquisition and assistance. As I mentioned, with nonprofits, they're often getting assistance, roughly 70% of our funding, and it's done through grants and cooperative agreements. And as a small business, you can pursue those opportunities. However, you cannot apply for a fee, but you can cover your cost. For acquisition, those are our typical contracts where we tell you what we need you to do. And you, if you win, have to execute it in those countries. The next slide, you'll see how our funding is spent as an agency. As I mentioned, roughly 70% is assistance and 30% is acquisition. That means $11.3 billion is going to assistance. So that's a lot of money if you're a nonprofit to consider working with us. And for acquisition, it's $4.7 billion go to contracts. And this is based on just last fiscal year, FY 2016. For missions versus Washington, the funding is split roughly 40-60. And we have other resources that we give also to other governments, such as the UN, so that's not captured here. But for missions, 40% of our funding is awarded at the mission level within the countries in which we work, and Washington is 60%. So, if you're interested in working with us and you have a business, you have to do some very basic things. And that is to, one, register your company with the state, have a DUNS number, register yourself and your business in sam.gov, because anyone who wants to contract with the government has to do those two things. The next slide, you'll see how to identify the contract opportunities. So the business forecast. Every government agency has that, where we forecast what we think will be contracting, and that's a good way to kind of plan in advance before the solicitation goes out on FBO or grants.gov. So if you're interested in contracting with the government or working with USAID, that is where you would start. And it's on our website, and the link is here. If you want to get maybe the presentation later, you can ask the organizers, but it's usaid.gov/business forecast. So FBO.gov, as I mentioned, is where you find out about the contract opportunities, and those solicitations are called requests for proposals. For assistance is on grants.gov, so that's grants and cooperative agreements, and that's looking for notice of funding opportunities. Now, if you are a firm that may have resources to leverage outside of just looking for the government, USAID has innovative mechanisms to work with you as well. So let's say you have an extra $1 million or $2 million, and you want to come to USAID and say, hey, I don't need a fully fund or program. We have something to bring to the table. We have something called a GDA, and we like to work with organizations that also bring something to the table because we know that you're invested in the project as well. So the business forecast, as I mentioned previously, these are all the different opportunities that are listed there, and at minimum $150,000 is the amount that's posted, contract opportunities. The next slide, tips for submitting a proposal or an application. Read through the entire solicitation. It's important to understand what we are looking for. Read the statement of work and understand the cultural factors in that requirement. Also understand that you cannot do most of these requirements and these proposals on your own. It's important that you partner with others. As it was mentioned before, partnering with American businesses, and you have a local partner or partner with a university, it's important that that's demonstrated in the solicitation and that you in your proposal, and that you understand what's in the solicitation as a statement of work. Make sure that you ask questions if you don't understand to the point of contact listed on the FBO notice about that opportunity. Follow the instructions outlined in the solicitation, making sure that you create strong proposals by understanding the technical expertise needed, the past performance needed, and if you don't understand USAID, please come to our events and consider partnering with other organizations that currently work with us, and that's another way you're able to learn, by attending our outreach events. And if you did not win the award, ask for a briefing. It is within regulations to be able to get debriefed on the process and understanding how you can improve going forward. Unsolicited proposals, we do accept. As I mentioned earlier, it is quite difficult to be able to get any award that's not within the CDCS, and also that's not given, the funding given to us by Congress. So yes, you may have this amazing project idea, but it can be quite difficult to get funding if it's not already designed and forecasted for the agency. So, if you're interested in learning more about USAID, the next slide you'll see our website, usaid.gov. Also, please sign up for our email distribution on our website. We also are on Twitter and Facebook, so please follow us. One last thing I want to quickly mention. So, as I mentioned, I am within the Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization. We are the office to ensure that we, as an agency, meet the Small Business Act. Part of that process is an evaluation that's done at the end of the fiscal year to see how we did in working with U.S. small businesses. 8 years ago, USAID was at an F grade. Over the last 8 years, we've done a lot, such as attend outreach events on a Saturday to ensure that we're reaching out as much as we can. And part of that process has helped us earn an A last fiscal year. So please understand that we are dedicated. We are dedicated to working with you. And if you're interested in Africa, it's me that you'll be working with. So please do reach out. And part of promoting small businesses is ensuring that when internally a design of a requirement is happening, our office is a part of that process. We are sitting with the contracts office, we're sitting with the technical office and ensuring that we're thinking about U.S. small businesses. Our office also goes to the fields. We're meeting with missions and talking with them about are they considering U.S. small business. So, for example, our office is traveling to missions doing training. I personally am going to Uganda and Tanzania next week because we are dedicated to ensuring every agency staff understands the process and the importance of engaging U.S. small business. And lastly, I want to mention that we are having various outreach events throughout the year. You can learn about them on fbo.gov. There's a section called Small Business Events. Save the date. Our annual conference is coming up on June 28th. We're going to have over 450 firms there. If you're interested in attending, please do sign up when we announce the conference next Tuesday. So, if you have any other questions, I'm here. I have business cards ready to talk to anyone who's interested in learning more about USAID. Thank you very much.